Right at the start today, I'd like to say and remind everyone that the US military drone striked and murdered 7 children and an aid worker over in Afghanistan. And I think it has about disappeared from the news cycle. And whenever next you hear media personalities and news corporations and the journalists that work for them talk about how caring they are and how serious they are about holding those in authority responsible, remember that the most of them are liars. And for the most part, they tell you what pays them money. Imagine if this case was one where these 7 children were children who would have been more relatable to you, like children killed in the West. 7 children. And the response was, oops. Just bear in mind that. The response from these generals, from these men who are at the top of the intelligence community. The US they have satellites to zoom in and look at people's faces from up high. And they, with all that knowledge, killed a group of the wrong people and lied about it. And no one has any consequences to face. And what also adds to that is the fact that these people who did this on behalf of, let's say they did it on behalf of the American people. This killing was done on greetings from America was what probably could have been tagged onto that drone strike. And these people who did that were not elected by the American people. And this is, I don't know how much of the American media or news you take in, but this is what leans into the general idea where you hear people speak about the deep state or the permanent administration. And this isn't only an American concept, but it is a serious concept, a serious thing that happens in many democracies that we have to find a way to balance and to work around. You see, in a democracy, you vote for people. That's the general idea of democracy and the republic, as Republic Day is nearing in Trinidad and Tobago. The idea is you vote for people to represent you, and these are your representatives that you choose. These people are going to make decisions on our behalf, and that's who we choose. And we can choose to change them whenever they no longer seek our best interest, or we find that we just want to change them. That's the idea of democracy. We are ruled by the people. But within most democracies, basically every democracy by now, there would be a group of people within the government that are not elected and are not changed as governments come and governments go. So in Trinidad and Tobago, we would know some of them as our permanent secretaries and different aspects. Some of the commissions, some of the service commissions, etc., have some permanent people there. As administrations come, administrations go. They're there and they're making decisions on behalf of the country without being elected by the country. And there's a side of that may be necessary because you need people with the technical ability to do some things, to fill certain spaces, and maybe not every job can be elected for, maybe. So you make that choice, and oftentimes it's the people who are elected that make the choice of this. So what happens? Trinidad doesn't have as much of it, but we do in the US. That's one of the grouses that they often have. When one administration leaves, they will seat in several people into different posts that they know cannot be moved for years, and they bury this person in there, and the administration that comes afterward cannot remove them. And they may be a thorn in your side. Who knows what someone like that can get themselves up to, especially if they're aiming to make your administration look bad. And that's on the political side. But on the country side, what does that say for our country? And how much of our country can be run by a group of people that are not elected? And how much power do they have? Now, there's a link that I'm making with this. I was supposed to make a video yesterday, Monday, but due to some technical difficulties happen quite regularly. To be more specific on this technical difficulty, we had some rain that changed direction. And when rain changes direction, you start to notice all the places on your roof that may not have leaked before. And my faithful map over behind me there, he was traumatized by a newfound leak. So that's part of my excuse for missing that video yesterday. But the importance of that video was I wanted to speak about the idea of this deep state within Trinidad, because I was noticing something very interesting when I was looking at the cases piling up against our beleaguered former police commissioner, now suspended acting police commissioner. There is a side of this that seems to be screaming obvious to me, that there are people within powerful parts within administrative posts and posts that have some power, some authority, that do not want him there. And they are working within their own field of influence to do what they can to get rid of him. And in that sense, it reminds me a lot of the deep state, as they refer to in the United States, or the permanent administrators. There was a hint of that to me. And that's what I was going to make a video about yesterday, Monday. And then today, of course I was going to do the same video now. And then I saw there was an article that added in there where the former commissioner, is basically saying the same thing. But before we reach there, let's go to part of the catalyst of this. Suspended Griffith files for judicial review. Griffith goes to High Court over illegal suspension. And this is an article from the Daily Express. If you haven't clicked that like button yet, or touch that like button, or smash that like button, however you'd like to phrase it, make sure it's selected, and you can do that now. And don't forget to drop a comment if you have something to say when you're hearing all of these topics or you're hearing the news. If you have a comment to make, please feel free to drop that comment. It does help with the algorithm to helping the videos reach a further audience. So there's that. And if you are not subscribed yet and you are listening, please do click that subscribe button. There are videos being released usually daily. So Suspended Griffith files for judicial review. And this article is from the Express. And I am noting it's from the Express because there was something very interesting. I presume most people who watch my YouTube videos would watch my contemplations usually. And if you looked at the contemplation where Cup on Top, I believe was the name of it, or something like that. Cup on Top or something like that, I named it. I do love a good pun and corny joke. So I know few people probably look at the names of some of them, but that's some of the most enjoyment I get sometimes. Anyway, if you look at the end of that video, almost all the allegations against the Top Cup were written in the Daily Express. The Express seems, to me, I am someone obviously who reads quite a bit of news, and the Express seems to me to be obviously, how do I put this? To be obviously on the trail of Gary Griffith, more than they may have been on many other people's trail. You could wonder if there's some kind of vendetta there. Personally, I could wonder about that, because within the Express, within the last month, and it's not a coincidence within the last month, I think it was on purpose, because they knew that the possible reappointment or renewal of his contract was right there. So within this last month, there has been a serious upswing in the amount of articles being written. Sometimes the same investigation with no new information really and truly would make 3 subsequent days of articles. So the pressure was being mounted on the media side. And regularly when you read these articles, you'd see a senior official said by a senior official, quoted from a senior official. So it seems like the Daily Express clearly has some link or leak inside of the police service that is working with them to purposefully make the former Top Cop look bad. Now, this isn't necessarily a defense of him. This isn't to say that he's innocent of all charges. This isn't to say that he's a good man and he's the best man for the job. This is to say that, to me, whether he's guilty or not, whether he's a good man or not, whether he is the ideal person to be commissioner or not, this seems like obvious to me that I can see an orchestrated plan. Tell me what you think also, if you could see that, if you're someone who reads news a bit. And then, on top of that, to compound that, I was listening a morning program from the same network that runs the Daily Express, and I was hearing one of the announcers talking, and he was saying that he found, with the number of allegations levied against the commissioner, he should never be able to get that job. And I was thinking to myself, that possibly may be one of the most ridiculous things I've heard. And here I find myself sounding like a full defender of the commissioner. And I guess it's in the general tone of democracy, where you almost always have to choose between what might be considered the lesser of two evils. It's just a phrase. I'm not necessarily referring to anyone as evil, necessarily. So, when I heard that, tell me, how can allegations being made against me stop me from getting a job? And if enough allegations are made, then I do not get the job. What that does is it gives people incentive to make up allegations against me, or even if not make up, to just bring as many as they can, whether they can be substantiated or not. Because if the case is, if enough allegations come up against me, then I cannot get the job. That doesn't make sense. There's a reason in our system you're innocent until, and even in that same statement, I heard the announcer say that the onus is now on Gary and his team to somehow prove that he is innocent of all of this. And I'm thinking, does this person understand how our legal system works? Because in our legal system, you are supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. You cannot tell me I'm guilty and I now have to prove myself innocent. That is near impossible to do. You have to prove that I am guilty. And the onus is on the accusers. And as it stands, the former top cop can still make the claim that he is not officially being investigated. And if that is the case, then maybe there cannot be an issue raised in that light. Anyway, back into the story. Suspended Acting Police Commissioner Gary Griffith has taken his dispute with the Police Service Commission one step further to the High Court, claiming the Commission acted illegally when it ordered him to not return to duty until further notice. Just after 4 p.m. yesterday, a team of attorneys led by Senior Counsel Ramesh Lawrence Maraj filed the proceedings electronically. Now, if you hire Ramesh Lawrence Maraj, generally, you know you mean business. He's one of our oldest known and well-known lawyers in Trinidad and Tobago, a former Attorney General. He represented many very high-profile people, some of which he saw on both sides of the fence as the Attorney General and as a defense lawyer. But that's old waters under the bridge. That's the main lawyer for our former top cop. In addition to the judicial review application, Griffith's attorneys have also filed an application for an expedited hearing, as well as one for injunctive relief seeking to have him reinstated to the position as acting commissioner pending the hearing and determination of the substantive claim. Now, that kind of makes sense. You'd want this expedited if I am suing for suspension and I am currently suspended. The longer my lawsuit takes to reach to the conclusion, then the longer I'm punishing. And if the conclusion is that I'm being punished wrongfully, then you're leaving me in wrongful punishment. So that's understandable. The filing of the legal action came just one day after the Sunday midday deadline initially set by Griffith for the Commission to reverse its decision or face litigation. Now, the general idea of this was the Commission suspended Griffith. And before the Commission actually suspended Griffith, the Minister of National Security called him, this is what Griffith said, and told him, do not return to work until he is called out, or something to that effect. And then, when that was made public, the Minister of National Security said, I did not say that. All I said was, only return when your leave is finished. My theory, this is my theory, personally, me. I think the Minister of National Security may have called the former top cop and wanted just to have something out of the news cycle. something, off the record. The Police Service Commission might be doing some investigation. I'm asking you just, not to return to duty quite yet. And, just let that wrap up and whatever. But if you know anything about our former top cop, that's not how he moves. So he made that public and then forced the Police Service Commission to have to make it clear that they have suspended him. And when they had made it clear that they had suspended him, now he could actually make a move. And to stop here for a bit and just pontificate some, I think this is a lesson for life, for everyone. If you make things clear, to get a lesson from the insanity embroiling our police service, if you make things clear, it's much easier to know how to move. If the former top cop had left this just being an unclear, unsure thing where you may be suspended and you're not returning to work quite yet, he wouldn't know. But at least now he knows. And because he knows, there must be some qualifications for the suspension. You do not just suspend a commissioner of police just like that. Otherwise, there would be room left for manipulation of our entire police service. You don't want anyone to have the power to just suspend a police commissioner. That's dangerous. So there are stipulations and there are guidelines on how you can suspend him. And you can't suspend him if he's under investigation. And he is not. The thing is, there were investigations done and investigations drawn up and sent to the Prime Minister, and other investigations started based on those investigations. They hired a whole retired justice, brought him out of retirement, and I'm sure they're paying him quite handsomely. And he started that investigation process, and in the investigation process, he spoke to the former top cop, and when he spoke to him, he told him, I'm not investigating you. So I find personally that seems like an open and shut case to me, but I am not the judge. I am neither the lawyer, the prosecutor, nor the defense lawyer. So we'd see where that goes. But the idea I had about the deep state, Trinidad's own deep state, was one of Griffith's responses to this. Griffith, Burroughs style plot against me. And the article starts off with a snippet from a screenshot of a chat. And we'd read that when it becomes pertinent. Or you can read it now if you're looking. But if you're listening, well, you'd have to wait. Suspended Acting Police Commissioner Gary Griffith said Monday there's a massive orchestrated plot involving senior members of the police service to have him arrested and ousted as top cop. In a telephone interview with The Express, Griffith said that one of the culprits involved in this conspiracy is a senior police officer who has ambition to be top cop. Now, I think that bit of information could be broken down, because isn't there a short list of people who are applying to be top cop? So can anyone get their hands on that short list and go through and see which one of them may be the ones or one that doesn't want Griffith there? This officer, he claimed, boasted via WhatsApp that he can remove Griffith from office in the same manner that was done to former police commissioner Randolph Burroughs. The chat reads, former Superintendent David Jack made history in TTPS when he arrested Burroughs. A picture of him is in the wall of fame in the Jamaica Police Academy. It's the only non-national picture on the wall. You know the reason why? To serve as an emblem to signify that a junior could lock up a senior. Check what rank I am at now and check where I am working. A word to the wise is sufficient. I am focused and no one can destabilize me. Now, listen, I find this whole soap opera kind of nonsense that is going on at the very top of our police service should be something that scares every Trinidadian. Or if you're not someone given to being scared and you're not into this fair business, worries you. Because should it be the two options? Should we go back to the commissioner that we had before? Then from the accusations coming from a large segment, it seems, within the police service, they're saying that this man is extremely corrupt. And we would be in great danger if he returns. But if he doesn't, and this, as he frames it, plot against him, gets him ousted, then whoever fills that gap is going to be someone embroiled in a great amount of corruption within the police service and moving underhandedly behind the scenes. And the accusations of police moving underhanded and behind the scenes have always been there. But do we really want a case where the people that seem most obviously moving underhanded and behind the scenes are the ones at the top of the police service? I believe in one of my videos previously, I said I may, if having to choose between our former top cop and some of those within the police service, I may choose the former top cop. And I do not particularly like him all that much. But in terms of progress within the police service, I think I've seen more done there than before. And my thought on it is that one of the reasons is, if you look at the lawsuit one of the top cop applicants brought against the Police Service Commission, the idea was, I did my time, my qualifications are enough, this is mine and I deserve it. And I think that idea of progressing through the ranks and you deserve to reach at this point, and from that it's just the chip on your shoulder to retire, I think that could make for a lazier commissioner than someone who is coming into this position and has to prove to themselves or prove to the world or whoever else is onlooking that they are suitable and they can do this, versus someone who's coming into the position as this is the final gold medal to end my long journey in this service, and this is what they give me before I go out to pasture. Now, I could be wrong. I have no doubt that I may be wrong in many cases, but that's what I think. And there was a response to the former top cop's worry and assertion that there's a group of people out to get him from the acting commissioner who's acting on his behalf. Now, you're seeing the contorted web this entire thing is weaving. We have two people right now that can technically be called acting police commissioner. Acting Police Commissioner MacDonald Jacobs said yesterday, police officers are constantly warned about consequences of perverting the course of justice and engaging in inappropriate behavior. This was his response in a telephone interview with The Express when asked about suspended Acting Police Commissioner Gary Griffith's claim that senior police officers have orchestrated a plot to oust him. So he's giving reassurances that the police is above board and we warn our officers not to engage in these things. So there shouldn't be much worry for that. But if the person who was running the police service for the last 3 years is worried about the police service at the highest rank conspiring to get rid of him and conspiring to frame him, what should we be worried about? We who aren't even police officers, who may have never set foot in an academy. If we cross some of these police officers, if they're willing to do that, according to the assertion of our former top cop, the assertion of the person who ran this whole thing for the last couple of years, according to his assertion, these people are willing to set you up. Should we be worried too? Tell me what you think. That's all I have for now. I hope you were entertained, educated, or informed, and I'll see you again tomorrow for the next video.
And you feel the music, rising with the time.